Hannah Arendt warned that the most dangerous moments in history do not begin with explosions, chaos, or visible brutality. They begin quietly. They begin when ordinary people stop thinking. Not because they are forced to, but because they slowly learn that thinking is unnecessary, uncomfortable, or even inconvenient. This is not a story about villains. It is a story about normality, about routine, and about how easily responsibility disappears when reflection fades. Most people believe that evil requires intention, hatred, or cruelty. We imagine evil as something dramatic, something loud, something clearly immoral. But Arendt revealed a far more disturbing reality. Evil often wears the face of normal life. It shows up at work. It follows schedules. It respects procedures. It hides behind rules, titles, and orders. It does not demand hatred. It only demands silence from the mind. When ordinary people stop thinking, they do not suddenly become aggressive or violent. They become efficient. They learn to execute tasks without asking questions. They learn to separate actions from consequences. They learn to tell themselves that responsibility belongs to someone else. I was just doing my job. I followed the rules. I didn't decide anything. These phrases sound harmless, even reasonable, but together they form the most dangerous mindset a society can produce. Arendt understood that thinking is not about intelligence or education. Highly educated people can stop thinking. Intelligent systems can be deeply thoughtless. Thinking, in her view, is a moral activity. It is the habit of questioning what we are doing while we are doing it. It is the inner dialogue that asks, quietly and persistently, is this right? And can I live with myself after this? When that dialogue disappears, conscience collapses. The most unsettling part of this process is how invisible it is. There is no clear moment when someone stops thinking. It happens gradually. First, questioning feels unnecessary. Then it feels risky. Eventually, it feels pointless. Obedience becomes a virtue. Conformity becomes safety. Silence becomes normal. And in that silence, responsibility dissolves. Arendt observed that systems of domination do not rely only on fear. Fear alone is unstable. What truly sustains them is participation. The quiet participation of people who no longer reflect on the meaning of their actions. When thinking stops, people do not feel guilty because guilt requires awareness. They feel neutral, and neutrality in moments of moral crisis is not harmless. Is enabling. One of Arendt's most uncomfortable insights is that evil does not always come from evil motives. It often comes from the absence of motives altogether. From emptiness. From people who do not hate, do not desire harm, but also do not care enough to think. Evil becomes banal not because it is small, but because it is carried out without reflection. It becomes routine, administrative, procedural, ordinary, when society rewards obedience more than thought. This process accelerates. Rules replace judgment. Procedures replace conscience. Efficiency replaces responsibility. People are trained to follow instructions, not to evaluate them. To perform tasks, not to understand consequences. In such an environment, thinking becomes a liability. Questioning slows things down. Reflection creates friction. Silence, on the other hand, keeps everything running smoothly. This is why Arendt believed that thinking is inherently disruptive. It interrupts the automatic flow of action. It forces individuals to confront themselves. It introduces uncertainty where systems demand compliance. And because of that, thinking is often discouraged, subtly or openly. Not through censorship alone, but through culture, incentives, and social pressure. What makes this idea so disturbing is how easily we recognize it in everyday life. We live in a world that moves too fast for reflection. We are constantly pushed to react, respond, and choose sides. Speed is valued more than depth. Opinion is valued more than understanding. Silence is filled with noise. In such a world, stopping to think feels almost unnatural. Arendt did not believe that thinking would make people morally perfect. Thinking does not guarantee goodness. But she believed that not thinking guarantees danger. A person who thinks may still make mistakes, but a person who does not think cannot recognize them. Thoughtlessness removes the internal limits that prevent ordinary people from becoming instruments of harm. The true danger is not that people are persuaded to do evil. It is that they stop asking whether what they are doing is evil at all. When that question disappears, actions no longer pass through conscience. They pass only through systems. And systems do not feel, they do not doubt. They do not take responsibility. Arendt's message is deeply uncomfortable because it offers no escape. It does not allow us to blame only leaders, ideologies, or institutions. It places responsibility back where it belongs, on individuals, on their willingness to think, on their courage to pause, on their refusal to surrender judgment. Thinking, in this sense, is not passive. It is an act. A quiet act, but a powerful one. It is the moment when an ordinary person refuses to become merely functional, when they choose awareness over comfort, when they decide that obedience is not enough. The most dangerous evil, Arendt reminds us, is the one that feels normal, the one that blends into daily life, the one that does not announce itself as evil. It does not shout. It whispers. It tells people that everything is fine, that this is how things are done, that thinking is unnecessary. And when ordinary people believe that whisper, history begins to repeat itself. If this reflection made you uncomfortable, that is not a bad sign. Discomfort is often the first sign that thinking has begun. Now I want to hear from you. Do you believe people today truly think for themselves? Or do they simply follow what is expected of them? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If this video challenged the way you see obedience and responsibility, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thinking is an act of courage, and choosing to think might be the most important decision an ordinary person can make.